Good afternoon, I'm Creeson Agecoutay. Welcome to APTN National News. The Northwest Territories is sending additional fire crews today as a wildfire continues to burn out of control less than a kilometre away from the Dene and Métis community of Fort Good Hope. Around 300 residents were forced to flee their homes on Saturday. 100 residents chose to stay back to help with fire suppression. High winds are expected to push the flames away from town today, but residents remain on edge. The majority of residents were evacuated to Norman Wells, with a few relocating to Delaney. Others went to a fish camp 15 kilometers away on the Decho River. NWT Fire says the blaze started by an abandoned campfire and has now grown to more than 1,300 hectares in size. Thankfully, there have been no injuries and no property damage reported. No word yet on when residents can return home.
3 crews, we have 4 incoming, and supported by aerial support, including helicopters, 4 helicopters. We had 8 water skimmers and the tankers as needed. And what happened yesterday, there was a new fire created, what we dubbed VQ002. And there we had to redeploy some of our resources assigned to the Fort Good Hope fire. And so we set the skimmers, the tankers, and the water buckets, and it was visible to the community of Norman Wells. So some of the local residents got a chance to see how our aerial support responds to a fire.
A new hospital project for First Nations people in Northern Ontario got some much-needed federal funding on Monday. At a press conference in Ottawa, Minister of Indigenous Services Patty Hajdu announced the feds are contributing their share of $1.2 billion for a new hospital in the Winnebago Area Health Authority. The new facility will replace the existing hospital in Moose Factory, which is aging and in disrepair. It will be located in Moosonee and serve about 12,000 people in the region. The funding matches what the Ontario government has already promised. Hajdu faced questions about why the funding wasn't announced in last spring's federal budget.
I think part of the challenge is that the federal government isn't the contractor, is not the proponent, and there were many questions to the Ontario government about the nature of the money, about the nature of the payment contracts, and I think for me, we really saw a change when we were able to engage directly with the contracting company directly. So that gave, I think, the federal government the clarity on the $1.2 billion ask.
Last week, the families of 2 missing Indigenous people made a desperate plea for help at the Barrie Police Headquarters in Ontario. Dene and Métis has been missing since March, and Autumn Shaganash hasn't been seen for more than a year. CTV's Mike Arsalides has more.
Family are to the police. We ask you to come forward.
A united plea from Indigenous elders and leadership.
Closure should be these family members being returned home, sitting with their families again.
Along with the families of Dene and Métis of Constance Lake First Nation, missing for 3 months.
I just hope that nothing had happened to him. May they just come and see me again.
And Autumn Shaganash of Barrie, now missing for more than a year.
I love my granddaughter and I miss her so much, and I want her to come home.
Autumn last seen by loved ones a year ago, leaving the family's home, then crossing Burton Avenue. Her phone last traced back to the Sunnydale Park area, where Autumn was also captured on surveillance cameras, following a man while she carried what appeared to be a set of skis over her shoulder.
Autumn met this guy. It was a week and a half when she went missing. And she met this guy at the Barrie Friendship Center. So, you know, we got to get all Native organizations involved with what's going on and protect our children, our women.
Despite efforts by police and loved ones, including hiring a private investigator and posting her photo on buses and signs across the city in April, Autumn's family says no new leads have come in.
And we're not going to go anywhere until we find her.
They believe someone knows what happened to Autumn and Dene and are calling on help and resources from the government to make their families whole again.
This lack of immediate and thorough response is unacceptable and highlights a systematic issue that needs urgent attention.
She is somewhere out there. Someone knows something.
Her sister Lily heartbroken, waiting for the day Autumn is found.
And I hope she comes home one day.
They're asking anyone in the public with information to come forward to Barrie Police, the OPP, or should they wish to remain anonymous, Crime Stoppers, with the hope that they'll bring Autumn and Dean home. Mike Arsledy, CTV News, Barrie.
A provincial oversight panel has been established to monitor the Mountain View School Division in Manitoba. However, after being criticized by the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs for a lack of First Nation representation, the province plans to add a fourth panelist. Our reporter Sierra Bettens has more.
Nearly 2 months after a trustee said residential schools, quote, were good, unquote, during a board meeting, Manitoba's education minister established an oversight panel to monitor the Mountain View School Division. The panel includes Francis Sartrand of the Manitoba Métis Federation, Brandon School Division trustee Jim Murray, and Andrea Zarota, a staffer with the Manitoba Teachers Society. However, the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs criticized the panel because it doesn't have a First Nation member.
Mountain View School Division has a lot of our people, our children in their system to begin with, right? And that we should have representation on behalf of our people there as well, to be able to speak and to be able to advocate for their children.
In a phone interview with APTN, Manitoba Education Minister Nella Altomar said he appreciated the feedback. So, the province will add a First Nations person from the area. Grand Chief Merrick is glad about that, but she says it's an afterthought.
So it's discouraging again as well that we always have to continue to ensure that we're included in any processes when it comes to our people.
At a Mountain View board meeting in April, Trustee Paul Coffey stated residential schools, quote, were good, unquote. The Manitoba Teachers Society and the Southern Chiefs organization condemned the comments and called for Coffey's dismissal. Earlier this month, Mountain View Superintendent Stephen Jaddock was removed with little explanation. Altomar said the new oversight panel is supposed to make sure the Mountain View trustees do their job. That job, he says, is to make the schools a safe and welcoming place for students to learn. Grand Chief Merrick said the school board should still be dissolved and more First Nation people should be involved in moving forward.
1/3 of the students in the school division are First Nation students. So one of the things that I would recommend strongly to the province is that they work with the leadership within that area, the chiefs within that area.
Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Organizers of the second annual Sasa Penita and National Kidney Foundation fundraiser will encourage patients who need to travel for medical care. The Kidney Foundation of Canada is giving $190,000 to their Saskatchewan branch for Indigenous kidney patients. The announcement was made at the Dakota Dunes Resort on the Whitecap Dakota First Nation south of Saskatoon. A committee will be formed to help determine how best to use that investment. We're always looking for new story ideas. Here's how you can reach us. If you have a story you want to share, don't be shy. Send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, go to aptnnews.ca. You can find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, LinkedIn, and X. And you can watch this newscast anytime and anywhere on YouTube. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. We have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll tell you all about a new traditional healing garden in Fort Capel, Saskatchewan. We're back in 3 minutes. Welcome back. For thousands of years, Indigenous people have used traditional medicines picked from Mother Earth to help heal illnesses of all kinds, thanks to knowledge passed down for generations. Students in Fort Capel, Saskatchewan are learning about this in the classroom and are now building a unique healing garden for everyone. CTV's Mick Favo reports.
Grade 5 and 6 students from Fort Capel and Standing Buffalo Dakota Nation are putting the finishing touches on a very special garden. On the edge of town, not far from the river, sits the new Good Medicine Garden. It's a garden which will one day offer plants significant to Indigenous peoples.
It's a traditional Indigenous medicinal garden, so there are plants there that can help with ailments, but we felt it's more than that because we wanted it to bring people together.
Planning the garden has been in the works for months. Town residents and local First Nations played a major role in making it happen. The project, they say, is a physical space representing truth and reconciliation.
Truth and reconciliation is an ongoing process, and it's initiatives like this that make it alive. Just like our garden, it's alive with plants and herbs and medicines and fruits that are going to sustain us and help us with healing.
For the ones putting in the work, it's a welcome opportunity to get out of the classroom and try something new.
It was pretty cool being able to plant like a whole bunch of herbs and stuff, and it's kind of cool getting to have the experience.
Be careful with the roots so you don't rip them or anything, and yeah, don't put too much water.
For now, the plants still need some time to grow, and it will be some time until they can be harvested. When the time is ready, there will be an announcement and a day planned to come out and learn about the medicines.
This is just a small garden. This is a small community. So it's a small step, but it's still a step, and it's big to us.
The Dakota language is experiencing a resurgence after the Whitecap Dakota Nation recently hosted a language conference. Amanda Leader with the First Nations University of Canada brings us the story.
I want to help our youth, and I want them to learn it right the first time.
Alexis Eastnana participated in the first Dakota Language Bowl, a language competition bringing together different Dakota nations in Canada. It was held on Wapaska, Whitecap Dakota Nation, in partnership with Tatanka Najin, Standing Buffalo Dakota Nation.
Our goal is to give back the teachings to our people that were taken from residential schools and 60 Scoop and all the kind of things that was done to us. So we do teachings from grassroots teachings.
Andrea Redman is the prevention coordinator from Tatanka Najin, Standing Buffalo Dakota Nation. She attended Dakota Language Bowls in America and wanted to bring the opportunity to Canada in partnership with other Dakota nations.
So, because they're all in the States, we went to go witness and see what they're all about, and we brought it home.
The Dakota Language Bowl was a precursor for the Oceti-Sakowin Dakota Language Conference. Language revitalization for the Dakota language was in full swing for 3 days. There was also a Kahomni, a Nakota Dakota Lakota dance, where songs in the language were sung into the night. The conference featured speakers like Arvo Looking Horse, Jim Red Eagle, Harold Blacksmith, and Iris Wawashi McKay.
I want to help our youth, and I want them to learn it right the first time. Realization after realization, in Dakota, this doesn't sound right. I was just realizing like a lot of things, like we think like white people every day. Why?
The winners of the Language Bowl were in juniors, youth, and adult categories. They had to work together as a team to translate, act out, and sing, all in Dakota. There were no losers. Amanda Leader, Indigenized News, Regina.
Tonight is Game 5 in Florida, an uphill battle for the Edmonton Oilers playing against the Florida Panthers. That is the new theme for this week's new web poll question. On our website, we ask, are you watching the Stanley Cup Finals? Yes? No? Go over to aptnnews.ca to have your say. Former Truth and Reconciliation Commissioner and award-winning journalist Marie Wilson will join us next to talk about her new book. We'll be back in less than 3 minutes. Stick around. On the East Coast, St. John's 18, Charlottetown 21, partly cloudy. Nuujauak 9, La Grande River 26. Quebec City 28, Saguenay 26. Toronto 27, sunny, and Ottawa 22. Timmins 24, Big Trout Lake 11 with rain. Thompson 12, Churchill 8. Winnipeg 14 and sun, Barons River 15. Regina partly cloudy 10, Yorkton 13. Buffalo Narrows rain and 6, Stony Rapids 7. Northern Alberta high level 12, Peace River 10. Lethbridge 25 and rain, Medicine Hat 6 and sunny. Tofino 12, Kamloops 10 and sun there. Smithers 12, Fort Nelson 8. Beaver Creek 18 and rain, Whitehorse 10. Fort Simpson 13, Watee 16. Inuvik 4, Colville Lake 13. Chesterfield 0, Will Cove 1. Iqaluit 5, Agluwik 2. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission spent years traveling across the country, hearing stories of survivors who shared their experience in Canada's Indian residential school system. Marie Wilson was one of the former commissioners, and she recently released her book titled North of Nowhere, Song of a Truth and Reconciliation Commissioner. She recently joined us in studio to talk more about it. Thank you for joining us, Commissioner Wilson. North of Nowhere, Song of Truth and Reconciliation, Commissioner, is your first book, a memoir. Why was it important for you to write this book?
Well, just first of all, to clarify, I'm no longer a commissioner, but it was my great honor, of course, to be one of the three that led the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. And here, I think people are well familiar with it because our chair is from this territory, Marie Sinclair. I wanted to find a way to make an ongoing contribution. I feel that, you know, the commission, our calls to action came out 10 years ago almost now, and it's really important that those who were part of that not forget, that the many who were part of that who have since passed are not forgotten, and that those things that they offered, both the commission and the country more widely, that they are held up and honored, and that the many people, being the younger generations and the newcomers to Canada, who kind of missed the whole unfolding of the TRC and are starting to get second and third hand accounts of it. I wanted to be able to offer my first-hand account while I was still able to do so, to talk about the incredible importance of the TRC, the incredible courage of those the thousands, almost 7,000 who spoke to us, and the lessons that were there, that are still there, that we need to be paying attention to as a country.
What was the process like for you putting together this memoir?
You know, one of the things that was really, I think, beautiful about the TRC and those who negotiated our mandate, they had the wisdom to say, we're going to need health supports for this work. And so we were surrounded at every one of our gatherings with a really well-informed and capable health support network. When you're writing a book, you know, 10 years later, and you have a stack of notebooks, your own notebooks, and you're in front of your computer in your office, where are all those health supports, you know? And you're alone in the room, and it's a very inward-looking process. Not in a bad way, but in a tough way at times. And I was really grateful for how much detail I put into my note-taking from my own journalistic training and background, but also to have that opportunity to be reminded of how much incredible beauty there was during the TRC, how much poetry was there, how much laughter was there, you know, both things that happened at the events, things that we planned for as part of our activities, and things that happened between the commissioners, and as we, you know, went forward and became more bold in our teasing of each other, but also just our taking care of each other in that way.
Yeah, definitely always got time for humor and laughter, especially during a hard time, hey?
Essential. You know, people have said it many times that laughter is medicine, but it really was, it was important. One of our abiding instructions for the commission was that we do no harm, and we had to be mindful of that throughout our work in the planning of our events and our activities, and I tried to be mindful of that throughout the writing of this book as well. I tried to make it as honest as possible. It is, in a way, you know, Creeson, kind of a, I'll say kind of a travelogue, a re-journeying of where the commission went So there's something reflected here in every part of the country. But also, meanwhile, the inward journey that was unfolding within me, which people very often ask me about. And honestly, while it was still happening, I didn't really have time to process. I didn't have time to really go that far inward, and I almost couldn't afford to, because I had to stay capable of doing the work. And so this book is really my opportunity to dig deep and answer some of those many questions that people often put to me.
You talked about it a little bit there, but what are you hoping that readers will get out of this book?
I hope that those who were exposed before will be reminded. I hope those who were not part of it will be part of the awakening that needs to continue. I hope that the young people who are inheriting not only the experiences of residential schools, whether they were aware of it or not, but also the responsibilities of what survivors have conveyed to the country, that all of those things will be available here, and that it will, I hope, be accessible in a good storytelling way, so that people will experience it not as a big book full of facts and figures, but as a story that is an unfolding story, and that they'll realize at the end that we are all part of this story, and that we're still in the midst of it, and that there's a lot of work yet to do.
And really quickly, Marie, what's next for you?
In the short term, I'm traveling around with my baby, introducing it to the country, encouraging individuals, of course, but of course I hope universities and professional organizations, all those people that are named in our calls to action, I hope they will receive this as one more tool in the toolkit of resources that are available. And we'll see what happens from there. Many people have said, what's your next book about? And I think, this baby hasn't learned to walk yet. I can't start talking about the next one until I see how this unfolds. And I'm always desperate to just have some more time with my own children and grandchildren as well, who are a big part of this story and who appear in it, in fact, as does my husband.
Well, Marie Wilson, thank you for stopping in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all those who will pay attention.
Marie Wilson's book is out now, and you can find it at your local bookstore and online. And that's our midday newscast for this Tuesday, June 18th. We'll be back again in a few hours for your evening national newscast with more stories from our HQ in Winnipeg and from our reporters across the country. Hi, miigwech, masicho. Thank you for watching.